Hello, boils and ghouls. You are now tuned in to PVD Horror Podcast. Pleasant screams.
Hey, what's going on? You're now tuned in to the PVD Horror Podcast. I'm Brandon, and today I'm joined by the Duke of Spook, horror punk, heavy metal rock veteran, Wednesday 13, to talk about his new album, Mid-Death Crisis, which is set to release on April 25th. Wednesday, thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me. Good to be here. It's almost Wednesday.
Yeah. So your new album, Mid-Death Crisis, is set to release on April 25th. Your fans have been waiting for you to return to the music scene. Can you share the feeling of launching a new album?
It's the greatest thing. I don't know if people will truly understand what it feels like to make something and like this record's been done since, for me, since August. I finished all my parts, and then it became the mixing and the mastering and then the artwork and all that. It's just, there's so many elements to it. And all that's really important to me. Physical product is something I've adored since I was, a young kid. And when I make my albums, I make it in the same fashion. I make my videos the same way. It's just that spirit will never die in me of what this is. So to make a record, and I've been doing this for a really long time. This is my 20th year is Wednesday 13. It's my 10th record. So to have a 10th album and a career that long and to still be excited about it as much as I was on the first one is an odd thing to have, because I know a lot of people that don't feel that way. On my last record 2 years ago, I didn't feel this way about this record. I was coming out of COVID. I felt defeated, like the rest of the world did too. It was just wasn't a good time. So this is my revenge. So that's why I'm excited for it. I feel like I'm back to form. So it's a good time.
Congratulations, man. Because like you said, you've been in this game for a long time. And like you said, some people can't, they don't want that. Some people want to get out of it. Some people just can't, come up with new content. And just for you to keep doing it, man, I'm just glad you're out here killing it and doing it for your fans. So
yeah, it's crazy. It's, it becomes a job. If you don't have fun with it, it becomes a job. And I did this to not have a job.
Yeah.
The goal is to have fun. And,
Now, When the Devil Commands is your new single, how do you typically approach the process of selecting a leading song for your albums?
It's odd. I think this is the first time I really thought about it. It's the first album that I couldn't pick a single. I like every song on the record. I had a video idea for every single song. And I'm like, what do I do? And but I think with this single, what I did is instead of trying to go, all right, what's the one song that I know my fans will like? Well, I could have picked 5 other songs. I'm always thinking beyond the fans. Who's that guy in the back of the room with his arms crossed going, I don't know about these guys. I'm trying to win that guy in the back. And I thought this song would relate with my fans. My fans would dig it. But I thought that guy in the back of the room would just cut this doing his head to that riff.
Yep.
I've seen it work, and I've watched a lot of people over the last 2 weeks since we released this just come on board and just like, man, I'm into this band. I like and they're new fans. So that is the goal. The second video is the one for my fans. So that's the one that's coming in a couple of weeks, and that's the one they'll see that I catered this one. This was just for them. I put it on a platter for them.
Yeah. Now, There's No Such Thing as Monsters Tour kicks off in Las Vegas on March 15th. Tickets are on sale now. What are some of your favorite things about touring?
I love it. For some people, they would think it's insane to love this lifestyle and waking up in a different place every day, having shows where there's people like, I'm very fortunate to do what I do. And I don't have the biggest audience. I don't look to sell out. I don't usually sell out places. If I do, it's a big deal, but I don't. But I just love it. I enjoy what I do. I do my VIP meet and greets with my fans every day. I enjoy meeting people. I like people to tell me, what my music's done for them now. As I've gotten older, it's cool to sit back and hear that sometimes. I don't And it makes me appreciate it more, and it makes me care yeah, about. I mean, if I could care more about what I do, it's just like
Yeah.
I know it's important for people, and I don't know. I just love to be able to go out and tour, and this tour particularly, I'm celebrating the anniversary of my first album, which turns 20 years
Mhm.
old here. And we're still doing a best of Murderdolls set in there, and I'm
Yep.
getting to play some of these new songs. So it's exciting to do. And I haven't played my Wednesday 13 solo stuff in a year and a half because I've been doing the Murderdoll stuff.
Yeah.
So it's just fun all around, and everyone in the band and crew is as excited as I am. So it's going to be a good time.
Yeah, I looked at the tour dates and I didn't see anything in Boston. I was like, ah, man. I was
You
like,
know,
because that,
we're trying. We're trying.
yeah.
There is a day available. So Boston, reach out to my agent.
All right. You heard it
We got
there,
a day.
fans.
We got a day. We can get in there. We need it. It wasn't on the original scheduling, so I'm ready. Let's do it.
That's dope. So now, with you being a big horror fan, can you share your experience that led to the develop your interest in horror, and what was your first exposure to the horror genre?
Well, as you can see behind me, I
Yeah.
am obsessed with the 80s. I got He-Man and all this stuff. And that was kind of
Hmm.
what a typical 80s kid had. But what I had is a little different than most kids is I grew up in a little small single wide trailer in North Carolina.
Hmm.
And I lived with my mom, my dad, my brother, and my sister. And it's a single wide trailer. I didn't have a bedroom. I was a little kid until, and I slept on the couch, which
Okay.
had the big brown television that the 80s everyone had in the 80s.
Yeah.
And we had an illegal HBO Cinemax cable hookup through our wealthy neighbors in front of us. And the TV was on. My parents went to bed and HBO came on, and I watched everything I shouldn't have watched. At 6, 7 years old, I'm watching Creep Show. That was the first one I really remember
Yeah.
just being like, what is it? I loved it. I was scared. I was not every episode in because there's like 5 stories in that, but a lot of them really grabbed me. They still do to this day. But I was in front of that television and I absorbed every bit of that. Like Nightmare on Elm Street, seeing that for the
Yeah.
first time before Freddy Krueger wasn't a household name. That
Yeah.
was a brand new thing. I remember in the trailer, like I said, living in that trailer. I remember the night I watched Nightmare on Elm Street. We had a thunderstorm after I watched it, and there was a tree beside of the trailer, and it was doing the raking sound.
Yeah. Oh man.
Thought I was going to die, and somehow I enjoyed it. And I have 1,000 Freddy Krueger figures and dolls in my house somewhere.
That's awesome. See, that's the type of things, you know what I mean, as a horror fan, you can't make up those memories, you know what I mean, because it just still hits you. I still think about seeing those first films for the first time and how they made an impact on my life. So that's pretty cool to hear.
Right. And that's why I always go back and watch those movies. As an adult, I go back and rewatch this stuff when I see stuff in a different light now. I don't see it
Hmm.
through a 6-year-old's eyes.
Yeah.
But
And you,
yeah, I watched all that stuff, and I grew up, and it wasn't just horror. I was watching all of the comedies like Bachelor Party and
yeah,
Porky
yeah,
and Meatballs and Caddyshack and all of that stuff, man. That's all that stuff has made me who I am.
yeah. And you touched on it a little bit earlier about like your videos and stuff. Can you talk about your creative visuals and how you incorporate horror into your videos?
I think it just, for me, it just comes with it. Like I said,
Hmm.
in front of the television, even before watching, HBO, I watched The Addams Family and The Monsters. They would show it back to back, and it would run right into Bugs Bunny and The Three Stooges and Little
Hmm.
Rascal. That was my diet. I watched that stuff every day. So when I started writing music and making music for the first time at 15, 16 years old and had my first show to advertise and made an advertisement, I didn't know what it was going to look like. So I looked around my room and I see horror movie posters. And
Yeah.
so I took that imagery and that just became what I do. So that's what I'm known for now. But when I make my videos, for example, when the devil commands, that's maybe a little less horror related, but for some people, that's terrifying because
Yeah.
religion is scary for people, and I definitely tapped on that nerve for that song. But I only did that song, and a funny story about that song is I literally wrote that song from the point of view of my mother. Being in the 80s, my mother was terrified of the music I was listening to. She was
Hmm.
inspecting cassettes and looking and making sure, because she'd watch the church shows and make sure there was no pentagrams, and she's terrified of this stuff.
Yep.
And that was a big deal. The satanic panic of the 80s was a
Hmm.
real deal. So when I wrote this song in my mind, I went, man, it's like if I could go back to 1984 and take my new album and plant it into my cassette, for my mother could come into the room and open it up, and I could write these words exactly for her, like just plain and
Yep.
simple, nothing, there's no poetry there. It's just wrote out perfectly, and it would terrify her. And
Mm.
then the music video the same way. What would be terrible? She would see me in a church with girls naked and a stripper pole and a snake and 666 is everything. She would just, it was all for her. And I love
Yeah.
my mom. So that's the
Yeah.
point of for that. And I pulled it off with that. And and so that was a victory to see that video come to life with the song. And it's exactly what my mom would just imagine, like just oh my God. So,
That that's awesome. So you touched on like the Monsters and Adam's Family. Can you talk
mhm.
about how you got your name?
Yeah, well, it's just Adam's Family,
Yeah.
and the Monster. Like I said, I saw it back to back, and later on when I was coming up with a stage name, which most people do in a band, they'll come up, whether it's something crazy like I come up with, or they just switch their middle name to their first name or whatever.
Hmm.
But when I was in 1994, 95, I think, when I started using Wednesday 13, I just wanted something that sounded cool, like Nikki Six
Yep.
or Ziggy Stardust. I needed something that had a number and
Hmm.
something that had a sounded like that. And I was still obsessed with Adam's Family and Monsters and Wednesday Adams. I loved her sarcasm, especially in the newer films.
Mm.
And the Monsters address was 1313 Mockingbird Lane. So it was almost like just pulled those together, and I wrote Wednesday 13 down. I went, that sounds like something I haven't heard of before. Let's go with that. And that's been the name I've used for since, like I said, 1995 is when I started using it.
That's awesome. Now, like you said earlier, you do this for the guys that's in the back with their arms folded. Like, who is this guy? Can you talk to us about, some of the artists that influenced you so that, for new listeners, they can understand where you come from, like who inspired you to create the stuff that you make?
During this time, I'm talking about the horror movies, 80, 84, 85, 86.
Hmm.
That is still, was then, is now my favorite era of music. You have Twisted Sister, Stay Hungry with We're Not Going to Take It. You've got Wasp. You've got the Trick or Treat film,
Yeah.
another horror movie. All of that was just, it was going on then. As a little kid, seeing my brother, watching him see Kiss with their makeup off for the first, but still seeing the Kiss posters in his room. I wanted to know about that. So my music is it's all my influences. It's not,
Mm.
I'm not doing anything new. I don't think. I think what I do is just a reflection of what I grew up on, and I'm still listening to that same music, still watching those same movies and cartoons, and collecting that era, because that is my fountain of youth, and I
Yeah.
pull from that, and that's so if you like that style of or that era of time, I feel like I do that in a more modern way. It's I represent all of that. So if you like those years, uh, check us out. The guy in the back, check us out. I
Mm.
guarantee you won't leave without you will leave happy. You will smile at least one time. I'll make the guy in the back that doesn't smile smile.
Yeah, you gotta make them leave with some merch too, with a Wednesday
Yeah.
13 shirt, hat, everything.
My goal is to win them over. Maybe not the first half, but by the
Hmm.
end, I win them over. And I've done that with, on my own headline. I really do it when we support bands. I used to do it with Alice Cooper and Rob Zombie when we had opened up for them. I made sure everybody stood up.
Yeah.
Everybody. Uh, so that was a big deal to me.
That's awesome. Like I just touched on some of your merch. I had seen some of your merch on your website.
Mhm.
Man, it's all sick. Like, do you create that? Do you have any standout things that you like to have when it's on the table, like when you create things?
Well, you said the merch. I mean, it's all over the
Yeah.
place. Everything.
Hmm.
It's glasses. All that stuff it's all my ideas. I'll tell my artist who did the album cover. or our merch guy at the thing, we collaboratively put stuff together. I'll literally get up in the morning and have my coffee, see
Mm.
something on TV and go, oh, write it
Yeah.
down and tell my artist, hey, it'd be really cool if we took a Motley Crue style logo,
Hmm.
but and boom, that was just an idea that I had. And so I'm very involved in it. One of the things on the site that I really like, and I actually have them in my house, and they look so cool, is the collector glasses that we have that have
Yep.
like an image of me that I based those off those old Burger King glasses from
Okay.
1985.
That's sick.
Like Return of the Jedi, or 83 when they had the Return of the Jedi glasses. So those are and all my merch reflects those eras as well. I'm just seeing Kiss, they're one of my favorite bands, and their merchandise has been the best of all time. So I always keep them in mind and merchandising and just I don't know. That's what's fun for me. I love toys, so to
Yep.
put merchandise and my name onto any type of stuff is you see where I get it from.
Yep. That's awesome. Now, over the years, the music industry has undergone changes, particularly with the rise of streaming. As someone that's experienced the field from your advantage, what are some advantages and disadvantages that you observed over the years?
Um, you know, everybody wants to harp on downloading or the streaming services and saying we
Hmm.
don't make enough money. And I could say the same thing. No, I don't think the artists make enough money off the streaming, but do I think the idea of it is clever? I think it's great. I love it that I can be in Istanbul, Turkey, which I was last year,
Yep.
and I can pull up Spotify and listen to all my favorite songs. Because I used to tour 20 years ago with a portable CD player and switching out AA batteries on a
Hmm.
10-hour to Japan to listen to a CD that got scratched, and it's a convenient thing. So I think the percentage to the artist could go up a bit, but I like the idea of it. But bands are, this is one of the greatest things ever. People can just go on their phone and listen to music. Same thing for YouTube.
Yeah.
It's a you got to play the game. I don't try to harp on. Back in the day, it was
Yep.
things were different. But if you don't roll with the changes and accept it, you're just going to get rolled over. And for me, I just keep a really close contact with my fans. I try to remain touchable to them and give them all I can with merchandise and music and everything. And the meet and greets and merchandise is where the bands make money.
Yep.
I wish it was the music, but I think there's hope for that. I think it'll change. I think enough people will start saying, "Hey, these bands need to get a little more cuts." I think Snoop Dogg said, "If I got 1 billion streams, I should make $1 million." Well,
Yep.
I'm with you.
Hmm. Now, can you tell us who's touring? Who's opening up for you on this tour?
Got a really cool touring lineup. The opener, so when you get to the show, that opens the show is a band, as a one woman band called Ayatoya.
Mhm.
She does everything in the band. Is super cool. Just more of a goth kind of industrial sort of vibe. The second band is Dead Rabbits, which features Craig Mabbitt from Escape the Fate.
Okay.
People are familiar with them. And this is his side project. And I just recorded some vocals on their latest singles. So people may have heard that with me associated with that. So that's really cool. Maybe hop on stage and do that song with them a couple nights on the tour. We'll see. And then the second band is Stitched Up Heart, who's been around for a while. I can't believe we haven't toured with them already, but we did this year. We are this year, and then
Mhm.
we headline the tour. So you get 4 bands, bang for your buck, and it starts next Thursday in Las Vegas.
Nice. Now, apart from the album and the tour, are there any other projects you're currently working on that you can share with us?
Nothing that I'm working on. Like I've been asked to do a lot of guest vocals on some projects that's the most current thing that I'm working on. I can't say who it is, but there's some cool things in the works. One that's going to be really, really good. My fans will dig as well. A cool collaboration.
Mm.
And then just my video director guy, Vicente, he and I we keep talking about it. And this morning we had a whole hour-long text about, let's make that movie. Let's get that movie idea. So
Yep.
I have this idea of doing movies. The whole reason I started doing music because I couldn't make movies, so I sang songs about it. So I think that's the next step is to do a horror movie or something like that. I feel like I could do something unique and different, and it would be just as fun for my fans as my music.
That's sick. I can't wait for that project to happen. Can you
Yeah.
tell the listeners where they can find you on social media?
Social media, I am on, well, official website is officialwednesday13.com, and that has all of links to everything. But I'm on Instagram, Facebook. On Instagram, I'm under there as Mr. Mother Effer. I don't know if I can use profanity
Oh
on
yeah,
here.
you can.
All right, good, because I use it a lot. I'm a Mr. Motherfucker 13 on Instagram. Just search Wednesday 13, you'll find me there. But that's the main place that I do all of my stuff. That's the main place I understand. But Facebook, official Wednesday 13, you can find me all over there. But mainly the officialwednesday13.com is the place to find all the info.
Nice. Wednesday, thank you so much for coming on the show. And for everyone listening, make sure you go and pre-order Mid-Death Crisis right now. Buy your tickets for the There's No Such Thing as Monsters tour. Kicks off next week. We'll be back with another episode. You don't want to miss it. Until then, take it easy. Wednesday, thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me, man.
No problem.
Game over.